We have in our immediate presence, we have Cecil Newcomb, we have Melissa Phillips, and myself, Kevin Higgins. And in the ether world, we have Andrew Delory, and I believe Alan Chase will be coming in at some point in time. I did send a reminder email out today, and he advised that he hadn't seen the agenda sent out last week, so I've got to make sure that I've got the email squared away. Oh, looks like he's coming in. So once again, I'd like to, I'll just mention it again. In immediate presence, we have Melissa Phillips, Cecil Newcomb, Kevin Higgins. We have Andrew Delory dialing in from California, and now we have Alan Chase. Good afternoon, Alan. How are you, sir? You may be on mute.
There we go.
There you are.
I knew it was a mute. I just couldn't hit the right button.
Well,
8 different buttons. Finally got there. Yes,
well,
thanks very much. Glad to be here.
Welcome aboard. And
Thank you.
we will be, John Fuller isn't able to make it tonight. John is our alternate member who is, will stay in the audience, typically will be in the audience, and he will participate, but he doesn't have voting ability. But with his knowledge of everything that's been going on in the past, he's a wealth of knowledge going forward. So we will, just so everybody knows, this summer, July and August, the town of Orleans has requested a change in the letterhead of all the committees. So our letterhead will be changing a little bit, and with that change, we'll have all our new members' names on it and everything. I just want to make sure that the one that I create will be acceptable by the town, and then we'll be using that going forward. With that being said, Andrew, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
Great.
Welcome aboard. How's the weather in California?
Thank you. It's thankfully cool and with low humidity.
Yeah, well, we're getting it back now.
Kevin, did you get my email about
Yes, I did.
Stephen King?
Yes, I did, and I'll mention that in a little bit.
Fine.
So, starting off with the meeting, as I said, 5 o'clock on July 28th. We'll start off with public speak. If anybody has anything they would like to say, open mic. If there's anyone out there, Peggy?
No hands raised?
No hands raised. Okay. With no public speak, I'm going to move into the new member introduction, which I've already done. Cecil Newcomb, who's been with us off and on for the last 3 or 4 years anyway, but now is officially a member. Official. We have Melissa Phillips with us. Is there anything you would like to say? You don't have to. I'm just trying to new member introduction. This doesn't happen very often.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm grateful that the selectmen appointed me to this committee.
And we're pleased to have you.
Melissa, can you, I don't think we've ever met. Could you give us a brief bio? What branch you served in and that kind of
I'm
thing?
a proud member of the United States Coast Guard Reserves,
Excellent.
and we did search and rescue as well as law enforcement. And I served at that time, I was down in Chesapeake Bay, and it was pretty scary, all the drugs that are being run down there. And it was our responsibility to intercept them. And also, when we did search and rescue, there were times when people were missing. And as you know, you have to, when you go overboard and you fall in the water, your body will, it takes several days for you to float up to the surface. And so, being on the boat cruise, I had to do that as well. And I can remember one time, it doesn't sound very good, but there was one time we picked up someone, and as I put them in the litter, the wire litter, the arm came off. But that, you know, when you're in that mode, you just do what you have to do. And then afterwards, it hit me what we just experienced. But that was my experience in the Coast Guard Reserve. Served on the boat crew. They wanted me to become an officer, and I didn't. I wanted to be on the boats.
Good for you. Semper Paratus.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I know in law enforcement, we've had a couple of boat recoveries, and I will agree, they're not pretty, and they're not glamorous, and but there's something you have to do.
Yes.
And which is the reason why we have Veterans Memorial Park, to honor the veterans that had to do things that they didn't necessarily want to do. A lot of people want to grow up and be kids, and a lot of us, not me, I was not a veteran, but a lot of veterans did not get that luxury to grow up and have a childhood like the rest of us did. So that's why we have the park. That's why we got to keep our focus forward. Alan, would you like to make some kind of a little bio? I know you've got quite the history.
Hey, sure. Just so folks are aware of me, I finished up in Nauset in 1988, and I went to Philadelphia to Villanova University and started up the Navy ROTC there, and I did that for 4 years and got commissioned in 1992 and did a career in the Navy. Retired in 2016. Most of my time was overseas. Most of it was in Northeast Asia. All types, both surface, subsurface, air, and shore. Worked with all services. Retired in 2016, came home to Orleans. My kids got a chance to make a home somewhere other than all over the world. My son's actually sitting next to me, working hard here as well. But they both finished up in Orleans as well, so that kind of brought me full circle. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you for your service, and thank you for joining our committee. And once again, after all these years, I was hoping I wouldn't be the only non-veteran on the committee, but I'm still the only non-veteran on the committee. Oh well. Do the best I can with what I got. Okay, with that being said, I just want to follow up. The first item on the agenda is to follow up with the group with a meeting that we had, Meph Runyon, Michael Herman, committee changes. Wow, that's a tongue twister. With our committee taking on the responsibility of the Veterans Memorial Park rehabilitation, and also if the members remember, recently, we also absorbed the position of Howard Cooks, who was I believe Howard was a colonel in the United States Marine Corps artillery. He was the graves officer for the town of Orleans. Unfortunately, when they advertised for a replacement for Howard, or if somebody were to want to step up and become the graves officer, there was no real interest that came forward. So the select board asked me if our committee might be interested in absorbing that position, and knowing that it's not a big leap from what our charge is already to honor veterans, it just kind of seemed to fit. And so they have changed the charge a little bit, and I'll go through. There's only 6 bullet points, but I will read the new charge. The general charge of the committee shall be to plan, organize, and oversee ceremonies and events honoring our veterans on Memorial Day and Veterans Day. The Orleans Veterans Committee shall consist of 5 members and 2 associate members appointed by the Select Board. Veteran status is not required by the committee for committee appointment. To carry out its charge, the committee shall complete the following: work with various community civic groups to promote active participation in the events, including but not limited to the American Legion Post 308, First 3rd VFW, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts of America, including Sea Scouts, school bands and organizations, and the Veterans Memorial Park at Academy Place, Inc., the 501c3 charitable organization which supports our desires and goals going forward. 2, to identify appropriate events to honor veterans and work with the Select Board to allocate town resources to support these events. 3, to coordinate with town departments to ensure a safe celebration, which we do. We communicate with the fire department, the police department, town DPW, and they assist us in any of the functions we have going on, such as Memorial Day or Veterans Day. Identify possible fundraising options that may be available to offset the cost to the town. Assume the duties of the veteran grave officer. Inspect, monitor, maintain, and replace veteran grave flags and bronze grave markers as needed each year. Just so everyone is aware, and just to put it out there, the chief of police in Orleans has allowed our committee to utilize a storage locker at the police station in the outbuilding. And that holds, right now it holds our extra flags left over from Memorial Day, bronze grave markers for the cemetery, additional flags, anything else that is associated with those positions, he's allowed us to maintain and keep everything there at the police station. The lieutenant is aware of everything there, so if, God forbid, anything happened to me, anybody here can contact the lieutenant, and the lieutenant knows which locker has all the materials in it, so it should be relatively seamless if anybody needs to step up, if anything should happen to me, or whoever is in charge of the committee. Right now, obviously, I'm the chairman, but that won't be forever. I believe I know I only have 1 year left, and then I'll be stepping down. I'll be an associate member, and of course, I'll be here for any communications and anything going forward, but so the town has allowed us to keep some of that equipment at the police station. And then number 6, the committee shall meet as necessary at the Orleans Town Hall and file its minutes with the town clerk. That is a suggestion by Cecil that we have meetings. If we need to, we can have meetings twice a month, once a month, or we can even forego a month if we don't have anything on the agenda going forward that needs to be immediately discussed. So they've given us the flexibility to do that. So that's the new charge. And I think it's set in stone now, correct? I mean, it's
Yeah,
all
we
been
voted
approved.
it at our last.
Okay, perfect. Okay, follow up with the signing of the thank you letters. You'll note that there aren't any thank you letters here because my printer decided it didn't want to work anymore. So I am going to print those up, and I will have those available. I'll bring them here at Town Hall, so if you folks are out, we're going to have to auto pen for you, Andrew, because I'm not going out to California to have to sign the letters. But I will, if you'll...
Well, you're always welcome, Kevin.
Yeah, if you allow me, I will sign your name, and Alan, if you're around town, I'll make sure that, I'll put the memo out to, the letters will be here at Town Hall to sign them. The next item on the agenda is a discussion on QR codes. I was hoping to have a little bit more information at this point. I did reach out to Tom Blute, who had some information on the QR codes, and just so I could set the stage so everybody knows, one of the many items that our committee discussed when we were talking about redoing the park itself is people can go to the park and you can read the plaques, or you see the World War II, or you see the Battle of Rock Harbor, and you can read the little blurb there, but there's a lot more to it than 32 lines or 32 letters on that podium. The podium kind of gets your interest to tell you that something significant happened in December of 1814. But there is quite a nice video that was done by the town through, I think it was through the Chamber of Commerce in conjunction with the CHO. They put a nice video together that covers the entire battle. It's a relatively short video, I believe it's about 12 minutes long. But the idea was to incorporate, to make that park a living park, and to have a QR code on each of the memorials that would have a little bit more of a background. So to make it a little bit more interesting, if people are walking around and they've got their phone, they can hit that QR code, pull that information out. They go by the indigenous marker, they can hit that QR code and find out the different tribes that were within Orleans, and also the significance of those individual tribes within the town of Orleans. So much so that we have so many streets that are named after them: Kaskayagansett, Quonset, West Quonset, and on. There's quite a few. So I think the QR code is going to address that and also identify one of the original tribes, the Nauset Indians as well, which are now part of the Wampanoag. But again, the QR code will hopefully, I know we've been talking with Bruce Taub, and the gentleman that did the actual indigenous marker. Why am I having a blank? Robert Peters, who will also have a little segment in there about the significance of the actual indigenous marker and its and the reason why it is what it is and why it looks the way it does. So Tom said that he had been to, I believe it was Normandy. Am I correct, Andrew? Did Tom go to Normandy and he saw the QR codes out there, or do you recall?
I've been to Normandy, but I'm not sure what Tom has. But
Yeah,
yeah.
Tom had been overseas and he had been somewhere where they had QR codes, and he was going to try to find the company that manufactured them. Because the QR codes, they're actually a little bronze marker, and they're about 2 inches by 2 inch by 2 inch, and they use an adhesive and mount them on the memorials themselves. And he was going to have that information to kind of, so we could kind of move forward with that, and the cost and everything else. But I haven't gotten that, so even though it was on the agenda, I don't have much more to represent it, to present at this point. Tom unfortunately had to go to Vermont. He's working on another project up in that area, so he was unable to make the meeting tonight. Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I would just suggest you just kind of need to start working on whether you want it written or you want videos and spoken word, because you can, the QR code you can make in 5 seconds, and it's
Right.
just on a sticker,
Right.
and you can make it as fancy or weather resistant as you need to do. But they're all over the world on everything from museums to monuments to anything. So I think the real work is coming up in creating that video. While it may seem like a short video they did with the Cho and the Chamber of Commerce, in my experience, those take a lot of work. You need to do the script, you need to put it all together, and it's amazing when you can do it. And I definitely support it, but I think that's going to be the real work is how those videos are going to get made, and what wording is going to be used, which would need to be approved by you guys as a committee. So that's where I think the first thing is you want to probably tackle. The mechanics of putting the sticker on the monument or to the side of it on a little post, and whether it's between plexiglass or bronze or however you want to do it, I think that's going to be the easiest part.
Right.
That can be done in literally 10 minutes.
No, 100%. And one of the things that in thinking about this, when I have the time, is whatever we decide or how we want to have it, it's got to be an open communications also with the select board to make sure that we're doing everything at that park that the select board is
Sure.
giving the blessing to. So, I think going to the select board and saying, what would you like us to do? Would you like us to create videos? Do you want to have, if somebody scans it, it's going to be a written document as to, what occurred. The World War I bombing of the coal barges off of Nauset Beach. Hoping to have some of that information out there, because if you go into the park, there's nothing in there that kind of that signifies that, but it would be good that people understand that there's been a lot of different conflicts that Port Orleans has been part of. And, yes.
So with regard to the video for the battle, that exists, but in the case of other monuments, as you mentioned, perhaps the written word could be an interim step before full-blown videos for each monument will be created. So,
And the documents can live on the town website under your committees, because it has to go back, and somebody's got to host the documents or the video that the QR code goes back to. And so that could be done in the interim. I also think, as you said, Bruce, top is we have our historical commission here too, and they would be great partners to work with, and even Cho, and any of those groups could come up together with your guidance. How you want to create, what you want to do, I mean, is it, the format, a 3-minute video is probably as long as you're going to keep the person's attention, and you should probably get it all within that. As we know, all of our attention spans are shrinking.
Speak for
And do you
yourself.
want it in one language? Do you want it in multiple languages? There's a lot to do or think about through. So I think the select board would love to hear your proposal.
Yeah.
And then we can maybe even talk to Lower Cape TV and somehow figure out because there will be an associated cost to this.
Right.
For the videos. Of course, written word on paper will be less. So,
Production-wise, correct.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we've got a little bit of work to do this either the next meeting or going into the fall, starting to work on that, because we know that right now we have 2 of the monuments are more or less in production. So with any luck, they're going to be in place before too long, and it would be great to have some idea as to what we're going to do with that media, even before those monuments go in. But, so we will have some homework to do ahead of us. And maybe a good opportunity for having a couple of meetings just to be able to get through some of the stuff. I have spoken to Lower Cape TV. There's a gentleman there, I'm drawing a blank with his name. He did the filming for the Indigenous Memorial
Yeah,
reveal.
he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's good. He told me, he says, whatever you want to do, because we'll make it work, so.
Maybe invite Joe in
Yeah.
and see how they did their video, how that came all together, how they funded that, and what it took.
Yep, 100%. Okay, Brian, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a comment. I mean, whether there's an overlap here and, together we can decide, but some of the things you've suggested, we started working on. I think we have a very good website. You can actually go, we use QR codes, they work great. I think they're pretty easy to do. We're kind of at a point now where, with the help of, there's a little thing called AI, and what we've been asked to do is kind of like, what Kevin was mentioning. So 100%, what we can do is, use a QR code, but we've actually, if you go to my website, frankly, you can go to there's a section where we've separated it. You can go and find that video for the War 1812. It's right there. It plays beautifully. And it ties in. We have a history section of the park, and all that links. I've also got all the names on the website, not just the ones on the monuments, but now, with 1,300 bricks in the park, ever since the get-go, people will say, hey, do you have a map? Do you have a grid? And that's a little, so it sounds a little odd because, because you can walk there and say, gee, are you in row Q, brick 8? I mean, that's a little odd. However, if you think about it, one thing that we will start to do is, because we need to, there's a way to scan every brick and every name into a program and create a grid. So if somebody goes to a QR code, you can say, who was, this person. And what we've been able to start to do is pull bios using all the information out there, obituaries, cemetery records, military records, to the extent we can get it, and come up with a bio on every person. And I thought there was a time where I was going to hire a couple of interns from the high school or something to do this. It might take that, but nevertheless, I think we're kind of headed in the same direction. Because I get asked all the time, is there a map, is there a grid? And gee, I'd like to learn something about the War of 1812, or now that the Vietnam and Korea monuments go in, there's a lot you can put in there. So, all good, just figure there's, certainly things that we can do together over time.
Alan, did you have your hand up? Oh, okay. No, I think we should, technology is great. I think we need to utilize it, and going forward, there'll always be, like Michael said, QR code is just a link to something else, and who knows, 15 years from now, there may be something else out there, but, we're flexible enough that we can continue to march and make modifications as time goes on. I agree that it would be interesting. I know Brian has spoken to an individual in town, Alex Pugsley, who has agreed that he would actually do an online, like an interview with someone who has knowledge of what the brick their loved one has been involved in, and they can actually do or even the person that has the brick. Like if Alan gets a brick in the park, he can do a little bio on himself, and Andrew, he can do a little bio on himself and the Vietnam veterans. But with the technology that's out there, I think we absolutely should grasp what we can while we can, and especially with the park the way it is now. It's brand new. Let's make it work. So, Cecil?
Well, it sounds like we need a work meeting, not just a general meeting here, but we should schedule a work meeting
Yeah.
and be specific to this.
Yep. No, I agree, and I could see us meeting somewhere and sitting down and really kind of having the players involved that are going to be part of this going forward, and have everybody, and see what they have to offer and how we can make it all work. So, no, I think that's a great idea. Any more discussion on QR codes in regards to park history or anything like that? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the meat and potatoes of the meeting. I spoke with Tom Blute today and asked him if he had any kind of an update to provide me for the bronze plate for the Korean War Memorial. He gave me this picture, which is the drawing that he had. He said he spent about an hour to an hour and a half today with the woman at the memorial company that's creating this plaque. And if some of you remember from our past conversations, the idea was to have the center of the bronze plaque would have the Chosin Reservoir with the Marines coming out. And then on the outside edge would be the branches of service that are associated with the Korean War. Now, I know this looks very strange, the way it's set up, but this is what they've got right now. They've already made some changes. But the entire plaque will be bronze. It won't have that defined line around the Chosin Reservoir. Andrew and Alan, can you see that, can you see the picture okay?
Yeah, well enough, thank you.
Okay. So the black will not exist. The black will be replaced with the bronze, and the images that surround the Chosin Reservoir will more or less, they will be pictures that are incorporated. And the best way to show it is on this bronze plaque. Come on. Where's the- So this bronze plaque was done by the same company, and what they've done is, it's not really the same, but what we have envisioned is the Chosin Reservoir Marines coming out in the middle, and then these outside edges that look like photographs. Like, that's a photograph there, this is kind of an engraved, this is a photograph that's been turned into bronze, and it is a relief. If you ran your fingers over it, there is, where his nose and mouth are, there is, I don't say texture, but there is a depth to the picture, to the bronze. And that's more or less how the bronze plaque that we're looking at creating will be. It'll have those images on the outside edges, but it'll be all the bronze. It won't have that black, which is what this will have. Now, Tom and I have already discussed the placement of some of these images around these outside edges, and this doesn't necessarily, what's here does not necessarily mean this is the way it's going to remain. He thought about moving one of the ships to the side and bringing the tank over by the med tent, but he will provide us with some images that come from the bronze sculpture company once we start focusing in on the final plaque itself. And of course, this plaque will ride on top of this memorial, which this is just a mock-up. This block is India red, which is a deep crimson. Unfortunately, it didn't have deep crimson paint at Ace Hardware. I just went with the red that I could find, which was the darkest red. But it's going to be a darker red. And I thought I sent an image to Peggy that showed, the actual color of that memorial, and I guess it is not there. So, in any event. So that bronze plate will ride on top of the angled edge of the Korean War Memorial, and then all the names down here. Again, if I had that one image that I had set aside, when the polished India red is etched, the lettering is white. So that's why the lettering there shows in a white. So the bronze plaque will ride here, and then on the back side, our committee is going to decide whether we want to have something there that says Korean War Memorial, or something on the back side. So it's more of a two-dimensional. You've got from inside the park looking at the memorial, and then anybody driving by on the outside can look in and see that is the Korean War Memorial. And also the same idea as the Vietnam Memorial, which is, this is the drawing
Yeah,
hopefully.
I'm going to interrupt real quick just to apologize.
Sure.
I've got to jump to a different 5:30. Thanks for your reminder today, because I didn't actually have this on the calendar, but I'll get with you separate and make sure that we're on for the next one, which I saw from the bottom is August 25th. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate the time. Sorry, I've got to go to another one.
No, correct.
Thank you,
Thank you, Alan. And
Thank
I'm
you.
going to double check all the emails to make sure that that's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And so, as everyone remembers, this is the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, which is going to be the Barry granite. I
Yeah.
always pronounce it. I have two ways of spelling it, or pronouncing it, and I get it wrong each time. Andrew, did you have something?
Yes, I want you to just confirm we'll be voting on the final design of the Korean memorial.
Well, we've
We've
The
approved
only-
the plaque, I know.
yeah, the only consideration at this point is the bronze plaque at this point. I think the next step is Tom is going to show us what that block is going to look like once he's got the names actually laid out on the block itself, and that will determine the angle of the top of the memorial. If there were fewer names, the angle would be greater, it would be steeper. But how many extra names did we end up?
Well, there's 97 in all, so I
Okay.
know the angle will, he's now, so that's done, so he's now got.
He does
the
have
way
the
to go
angle.
up. Yeah, he'll be able to adjust the
Okay.
angle to get.
So,
I wasn't sure that we approved the specific images around
we didn't. Well,
we did.
we approved the idea of the bronze plaque and the idea of the pictures around. Nothing is set in stone in regards to that bronze plaque. Once this woman at this design agency provides a few proofs for us, those are going to be sent to us so we can make a determination. And we will pick whichever one our committee likes the best.
Oh, good to know.
You'll get it.
Thanks.
Yeah. What's that?
Yeah, I'm because we given deposits for this, so we're supposed to get a
Right.
proof or two to look at.
So yeah, she is just basically at this point just trying to take those images and put them in different configurations, and then our committee will decide which one we like. I envision probably having 4 or 5 choices, and then we'll pick whichever ones those are, and then that will be what is attached to the top of the Korean War Memorial. So, and just so our committee knows, the periphery pictures are going to be kind of distant, they'll be in the background, but with the soldiers walking out, they're going to be very raised and coming off the bronze.
So it'll be more prominent.
They'll be more prominent. They'll be the first thing you see when you walk up to it. The others will be kind of in the periphery on the outside edges. Okay, so hopefully by the next meeting, we'll actually have some proofs that we can show in regards to the Korean War plaque, and we'll have an idea. Hopefully we'll have a picture of the actual block itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, well, I was just gonna say that, without looking it up, I'm pretty sure, the dimension of the plaque, I believe is like 3 feet wide by 18 inches high.
Right.
And the postage stamp or the chosen reservoir would be the focal point, so I'm assuming from the picture that would get stretched out, where the
Yeah.
images lay on it or overlap it, but it's the stamp is the focal point of the
Right.
plaque.
Yes, as far as I know. I guess the proof is in the pudding. Let's see what he has to show us, so. And again, if our committee doesn't like whatever that is, we can ask for modifications and make some changes. Once our committee picks something, then it's gonna be, bless you. There won't be much, we can make a change at that point, so we gotta make sure that everybody is all set with that final design. And of course, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, that is in, well, perhaps, I know you've spoken to Tom today. Does he have any update in regards to the,
Well, I know he was making a trip up to Vermont, so in terms of just, laying out the final dimensions of the monument, height, thickness, width, relative to the names that we have, but I think he's just kind of working on both of them. So both, the red granite is in Vermont, as is the Barry, obviously, so they'll be together. But I know he was going up to kind of discuss that with the fabricator.
Yeah, yeah, when I talked to him today, he was working on another memorial somewhere, war memorial, so he was going up there with
Yeah, Harwich, I think.
a couple of projects that he's gonna be finalizing. And again, when we have our August meeting, hopefully we'll have a lot of this information available to us. I'd love to have a sooner meeting, but again, now it's kind of out of our hands. We've got to kind of wait for the materials to be brought forward to us to take a look at and move forward. And I know that one of the things that we discussed, and I don't think that we actually decided, the back of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, were we looking to have that engraved? Was there some discussion on that? I seem to have I'll have to go back and look at my notes. Do you remember anything, Andrew?
I expressed, I think, the idea that perhaps we didn't need anything on the reverse because a row of 5 shrubs will eventually grow taller, and I think it's maybe an unnecessary additional expense. That's my current thought on that.
If I remember correctly, I think that the shrubs behind the memorial they're low. They're like, I forget what they call it. They only rise up about 12 to 18 inches.
We should confirm that because it may be a future hedge. I'm not certain what species.
Yeah, I don't think, our plan was never to like create a barrier from the street. I think we wanted people to be able to look into the park. I just don't recall the planting schedule as to what was actually planted behind the memorial. But I will check with Rich Waldo and find out what that planting is. And
Thank you.
and
That side of the monument may be, I think it's likely polished, so it's the front that will get engraved, or the corners where you want the ears.
right.
The back and the top, I think are polished. You wouldn't engrave into the polish.
Yeah, so I think that'll be something that we can discuss as we get a little bit closer to the final production as to what it would look like. I know it's not on the agenda, but and I can't speak to anything that isn't on the agenda, but I do want to plant the seed. The plantings around, Brian's brought it up and asked me to discuss it. The plantings around the World War II monument. They've always been low bushes on each corner, but right now it's just bare ground around the World War II monument. We need to have a conversation with Dave Hawk and Agway and find out. I think there was still some plantings that were not installed yet. I'm not sure where we stand on that, and I think the punch list the punch list hasn't been closed out yet, so we'll double check on that, and if that's part of the punch list, we'll see if we can get that in place.
Okay. Yeah, I did speak to Prince, so, and I reached Paul Candid, so so Dylan said, just let me know, because he can connect the drip line when he does the plantings. I mean, the last thing if it was native, since you needed, since native plantings were required, Dave gave me kind of a short list of plantings that could be put in. If you wanted permanent green, inkberry was I guess the chosen choice, certain variety of inkberry as opposed to boxwood, which isn't native. So we never kind of concluded on what to put in. And so it was I just left it even with Agway that let me know what you want to order. And, but again, which variety you want, how many.
Right.
Just, with this to sort that out. But it sounded like, but connecting the drip line was pretty easy to do, just want to do it with the planting.
Right. The other item that came up, or has been more or less in the periphery of our agendas, is going forward, the town of Orleans, the DPW, the park maintenance, and right now, Rich Waldo and the DPW are doing a great job maintaining the park. It is a little bit more work than normal because the grass areas are a little bit more complex. They have to mow it with a small 21-inch mower as opposed to the big wide cut mowers they used to use. And so he has asked us if it's possible, and I not that I made a decision unilaterally without the committee, but He's asked if maybe we could have a couple of work parties throughout the year, maybe once in the spring, once in the fall. We could all get together and just kind of go there and do a little park maintenance, a little raking, or, fixing up this, that, and the other thing. I assumed we could do it, because I've done it in the past, when we do the cemetery, when we plant the flags at the cemetery. I also do all the flags at the Memorial Park, and I do a cleanup there. I rake myself and kind of clean everything up. I scrub the monuments. I don't expect the DPW to do that. Someone could turn around and say, well, it's the town's park, they should be doing it. But like everything else, the town is limited on their number of employees, and I certainly don't see an issue with spending an hour or two there just doing a little maintenance, kind of keeping things nice and clean and neat and polished up. It's the least we could do for the veterans. So, and I know that was one of your questions to me about park maintenance. I think over the course of the next 2 years, there's going to be some, what's the word I'm looking for, some wiggle room in regards to who's going to do what and when and where, but in the end, it'll all get done. I know that Snow Library, the Friends of Snow Library, they have a whole volunteer crew that work there in the gardens. I don't think they expect the DPW to maintain it. So I don't see it a big issue personally, unless someone on the committee thinks thinks otherwise. But I think it's a small price to pay to have that beautiful park, and it certainly gets a lot of compliments. So. Okay. The other thing left is Brian, if you and the 501c3 could update us on any fundraising efforts you've got coming forward. And before you start, I do know that I spoke to Kim, the town manager, and she indicated that there was a date coming up in August, which is significant in regards to military and the connection with Orleans. And I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if she's spoken to you at all. I'm going to do a follow-up on that and find out. But she's asked if our committee and the 501c3 would like to partake in it. I'll get a little bit more information. Unless, Michael, do you know anything about what she was referring to?
No.
It was something, I want to say it was something to do with the Revolutionary War or something, a specific date in August, which tied in. But I'll get more information on that. But that being said, the floor is yours, Brian, if you want to talk about any of the upcoming fundraising stuff.
No, nothing formal I would announce, but I was just going to say, we're always, we continue to market bricks for the park, and that's obviously been a good source for us. We are, now that we've got, a lock on, the general design and stone for both of these monuments, I think our approach might be, like any, 501, we're focusing on a campaign to deal with families, individuals, companies, to kind of close that gap. So rather than brick by brick, that's part of our organization. We want to focus on individuals, families, and companies to maybe sponsor, the Delta or the Gap to get the Vietnam, and Korea all done together. So, one of the starts is we know now we have, there's not necessarily a brick for every person, but we've got, like I said, there's 240 names that are going to be inscribed on those two monuments. So we have to we're doing a little more research to see how we can find some of those families. Some already have bricks and some are local, but some aren't. And so those are, while we've got a big donor list, there's some of those want to be researched because we think there's likely something there. And in terms of just doing something locally through restaurants or upcoming events, we'll coordinate that, doing that, so we kind of keep getting the word out.
Well, work with us. If you do anything with any of the restaurants, if they have a Veterans Night, I know it's been kind of loosely kicked about. La Bella Vita or the Land Ho have both said that they would host a Veterans Night. Our committee, whatever you set up, a date, if you give us enough advanced notice, we'll make sure that we're there. If anybody has any communications or anybody wants to talk about anything, or we can have a table set up and have the brick information available to anybody that wants to put something out. But as I don't think you were here, but I was telling Katie and Marty the other day, I went by the park and there was 15 to 20 people walking about the park, and I went in there on the pretense to kind of clean up a little bit, just so I could kind of talk it up a little bit. And they didn't know how to go about getting a brick. And is there any way, and again, they've already kind of discussed it, but can we get some kind of a waterproof box that has a bunch of these in it? Because if that was there, I would have had 20 of them out the door, and probably half of them would have probably already bought a brick by now.
Well, we have a couple on order, because during the construction, that box disappeared. So we just ordered a couple so we can replenish the flyers in the park. I put one in there, but nevertheless, you're right. So if we allow what I call a realtor type box,
Right.
we'll put that in there.
Yeah.
Somewhere near where the poop bags were, so thank you for that.
And if you give us some extra copies, if I go by the park, because I go to the park 3 times a week, if I notice that they're missing or gone, I'll replenish them if you give me a bunch of these to replace.
Good, we'll have them in there this week.
That was the comment that what you just said was perfect, that if each of you would have your own little
Mhm.
stash, that when you are talking it up in whatever setting, you might be able to pull one out if the interest exists.
Yeah, I went to Staples and I bought a ream of paper, and I took one of yours and I went down to Staples and I made a bunch of copies, not this fancy gloss, but just regular paper, and I've been handing those out like candy.
Okay, yeah, they have our
There's a bunch
stuff
of
on
them
file
there.
there. So, yeah.
But, yeah, so I hand out as much as I can, so, a lot of people, nothing against some of the older folk in town, but they don't like those QR codes.
No.
They don't like going online for things. They like the old pen and
Yeah,
paper. So I like to physically hand something to them so they can
That's why I
continue to
carry them
march.
in my handbag all the time, and then I carry more in the car. So if I have to run out and get them, but you're absolutely right. The older people, not that much older than me even, they don't want to do the QR code. They just want to write it out, have me look at it, and then hand me a check.
Yep, absolutely. Michael?
Yeah, but there are a lot, I mean, this is a perfect example of QR codes, and this could be the first QR code in the park, that you don't need to, there are a lot of people who do use QR codes. And if we're thinking the rest of the park and all the history of the park is gonna be on QR codes, but people aren't gonna use it, then maybe we shouldn't go to the expense and do that.
I
I
mean,
think
the flyers.
yeah, I think
most of the people walking through the park are younger.
Yeah.
Right, so I just think having a QR
Yeah.
code could be the start. And
It
yes,
is.
you can print things up and you can spend the money and you can physically pass them out. But that can also live in the park too.
Yeah,
That
it's on the
your first-
flyers.
Take your QR code and blow it up so it's this whole 8.5 by 11.
I'm not that big.
Laminate it, slap it on the podium of 1814, and anybody that's got a phone can scan it and they can do the brick right there.
Yeah, that's what we had in mind, to put the square by the side of the podium.
Yeah, 2 inch by 2 inch, you could have
Yeah.
it right there.
I think that'd be perfect. But again, I agree. I think we've got 2 demographics we're dealing with. We've got the younger folks that like to walk around that don't really have the knowledge of the park, and I had one young couple, and they said, what is this Operation Hollystone? And while they were standing there, the gentleman's wife pulled it up, and she's like, oh my gosh, that's all about espionage during the Cold War. She knew nothing of it, but that's what a lot of that information that's on a lot of those bricks. So by having a QR code would hopefully be able
I
to.
think it's also a little bit different with the bricks because there's a transfer of money, and sometimes people feel more comfortable, handing you a check than doing it
Online.
on their phone or online banking or whatever.
Yeah, fair enough.
I did mine online, felt safe with you guys.
I did it. I did it with these.
I've done checks.
Oh, no.
Really?
Very-
Checks, checks.
Very stingy with my credit card numbers.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Do you do Apple Pay? We need to do Apple Pay.
We help people fill out, I help people fill out the paper, so it's,
Yeah, me too, so.
we take care of spelling errors, divisions, battalions, all.
No letters on
Thank
the
you for
side.
thinking of us technology people, and I'll put myself in the younger
Those who have names
category,
longer than
letting
20.
us do it too.
Is that-
The other thing, I've had another individual ask me about shirts for the park. I know, just so you've got an idea, the police department is purchasing 500 shirts for the block party coming up. And they got them in all different sizes, and they've got the gentleman that's doing it is the old windscreens, which is now Nauset Screen Printing or Nauset something, Nauset, whatever. And it's $1,800 for 500 shirts and the design. So I know you have to spend money to make money, but that might be a great thing to have if we ever do a Veterans Night, and you could have some shirts on the table, and, you know, you might find a ton of people with them. And that in and of itself, have it printed with a QR code on the back of the shirt.
As you're standing at the Landau rail, scan your shirt.
Right, exactly.
And it's also, I think I might have mentioned before, you know, there's also the farmer's market, which is a great place.
We've done that.
Good, because they get 30,000 people a year coming.
And these guys are at the Cardinals
Cardinals game, the
Firebird
We
games.
didn't put it this year, but,
You're right,
Excellent.
you're right.
We cover- Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. All right, just to go around, if anybody has anything, we'll start with Andrew, because he's in California, he's the farthest away. Is there anything you'd like to add to our meeting before we adjourn?
No, it's been very instructive. Thank you all.
Good. Cecil?
No, I'm good.
Melissa?
All set, thanks.
And I am all set. I think we're obviously headed in the right direction. We're already well on our way, now it's just kind of fine tuning. So, thank you all for attending, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded by Melissa. All those in favor signify by saying aye by roll call. Andrew Delori?
Aye?
Kevin Higgins, aye. Melissa?
All right.
Cecil?
Aye.
We are adjourned.